The fact that Chosen know how to turn on the TV is fucking insane. Like I turn it off and then he turns it right back on. Um, okay. So I've been avoiding this conversation or just thinking about this too much all morning. But I realized I can't avoid it anymore. So I'm just gonna speak on it. Okay. So today makes 19 years since DeMarco was shot at the cannabis club and killed. If you guys don't know, because I'm sure some of you do, some of you don't, know who DeMarco is. DeMarco is my first of my baby's dad, my daughter's dad, my firstborn's dad. We were 17 um, years old, well, 16 years old when we met, and we were 17 when the tragedy happened, when he lost his life. Anywho, it's been 19 years today, and August 19th is a day that I'm never looking forward to. I absolutely never look forward to this day coming. I mean, but who would, right? Death anniversaries and birthdays, you know, it's a completely different feeling. When his birthday come, it's a little bit of sadness because he's not here for us to celebrate that upcoming age, but it's still like a joyful. It still feels good. When the death anniversary comes, it's just like I just feel that same feeling that I felt 19 years ago. I mean, I can remember it like it was yesterday, and maybe that's why I don't like to think about it too much because when I tend to think about things that I went through or experienced that are really fucking traumatic, like this, I can literally, as an empath, I can literally feel that again. Like it's just like going through it all over again. So, I mean, I just remember getting that call at like 5 something in the morning, maybe even 6 in the morning from my mother, his mother, and I knew what she was saying. I knew what she said before she even got to say it. It was just like I knew it. I knew what she was about to say. And I just dropped to my knees. And I was just on the floor and I couldn't get up and I couldn't even get the cry out. I couldn't even get the fucking cry out. Chosen's getting it out for me. I'm not going to get into all that. It was a very devastating, obviously, one of the worst days of my life. Literally one of the worst days of my life. Um, I mean, just imagine being 17 and being told that your baby daddy was shot and he did not make it. You know what I mean? Like, just don't imagine it. Don't imagine it. We don't want to manifest this in nobody else's reality. Because listen, baby, that shit hurt. It still hurt 19 years later. Having certain gifts for me can be a blessing and a curse. It's a real blessing and it's a real fucking curse because I literally either dream it or just daydream it or sense it when something is going to happen to somebody I love, like somebody that is close to me. I can feel it. I remember I was like maybe 7, going on 8 when my grandmother passed. And I was a very intelligent little girl. Like I was very woke as a little girl. And I think my grandmother knew that. I spent a lot of time with my grandma. And now that I'm grown, I'm like, how did I get to spend all that time with her? I should have been in school most of the time. But I remember like asking her, can I stay home? Like my mom would go to work at like 6, 5, 6 in the morning. And then it would be like my sister's and my big cousin's job to make sure we all get to school. And I remember I would just beg to stay at home with my grandma and she would let me. And something when I was like 6, 7 told me like spend as much time with her as you can because you're not gonna have her and you're gonna miss your granny. And so I remember the last year of her life, I just wanted to do everything with her. Like she would go to dialysis and I would go with her. Every doctor appointment, I would go with her. I would be trying to hold her hand. I would just want to be close to her. I remember I would sit at the foot of her bed and I would like touch her feet. I have a foot fetish, you guys. But it wasn't toward my granny, but I would touch her feet. Like I just knew that I would not have her long. I was like literally observing her. I remember the moles and the coloration, discoloration, and just all the things that her body started going through. I remember. And I tried to absorb all that I could with her because something told me your grandma is going to go soon. And so, and just imagine being 7, almost 8 years old and having these gifts and knowing things like this. Like I had nobody that I have to tell that to. Like my mom would have been looking at me like, father, my mom, like Granny is about to die this year. Like, come on now. So I couldn't say that to nobody, but I knew it. And then there was this one, the last time she ended up going to the hospital, she never came home. And I think that was around the time that I had got the message like she's not coming back. So I remember the week that she passed away. I had already felt like she had passed away. I was upset and they didn't know because everybody was going to the hospital and we wasn't going. And I was used to going to the hospital. We lived in a hospital when my grandma was sick. Like we literally lived there. That's how much we was there. The last few years of her life period. But I remember being upset because everybody kept going back and forth to the hospital and we couldn't go. And I remember one morning my mom answered the phone, or one of my, I don't know if it was my mom or my one of my aunts that answered the phone, but I knew what the doctor was telling them because I always sense it, feel it. It's almost like I'm channeling. I already knew it was about to be said, and they said it to my mom, like basically, she's leaving. You guys need to come up here, say your last words, whatever, whatever, whatever. So, the whole house, especially my big cousin, like was just everybody was just crying and sobbing and just and I remember us going up there and I kind of vividly remember being in a hospital room around her bed with a lot of my family members and in a pastor or something. Somebody was praying. And it was just I can never forget it, but it was just the craziest shit of my life. And I remember just saying, "Bye, Granny, I love you." And I think I gave her a kiss. My mom said, "Give her a kiss," and I gave her a kiss, and that was the end of it. And then, boom, that was the first time that I can recall, like, ever being told somebody was going to leave. So, boom, that happened at like 7, 8 years old. Marco passed away when we were 17. So, prior, like, I had got to he spent pretty much my whole pregnancy in jail. So he got out of jail when I was like just touched 7 months. So I I went to go see him, and we may have seen each other 10 minutes, a good 10 minutes, no more, no less. And I can never forget this day either. My cousin Ashley, Big Red, she took me to go see him. What's crazy is he never even told me where he lived, but like the little details he did tell me, like the block he lived on, like we were just detectives. I was able to find his grandma's house like that. So I canceled all my appointments that day, and my cousin flew me to his grandma's house to go visit him. And I didn't go in, but he came outside and he came to the car and he looked so fucking good. Like imagine I seen your nigga like in like 6 months, because that's how long it was. Like he turned himself in February, passed away in August. Like, come on now. So he looked so good. But because our relationship was in a weird ass place, like I didn't get out the car to like hug him or nothing. And he didn't really open the car door at all for me to hug him. He just kind of bent through the car door and like touched my stomach. And I like played with his fingers and stuff because I was in love with his fingers. And we had like a little bit of conversation. We goofed off talking about the summer jam and we had a goofy conversation. And then that was it. But I remember looking at him, looking through him, and something telling me like, get your last look because the next time you see him, it won't be like this. And I kind of just like pushed that out of my head and just whatever, whatever, whatever. Then, you know what I mean? He leave, we drive off, and we head into the freeway and fucking car. My cousin had drove a stick at the time. The fucking car had did some shit where it literally started going backwards back down the hill. So we cracking up laughing. So she get it back in control and we going up the hill. And I look out the window and the sun just hella bright. The sky's just hella pretty and the air just felt hella fresh. And I just start crying. And she like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I just don't feel like I'm gonna see him again. And she like, girl, it's just probably pregnant, like pregnant hormones. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm gonna see him again. Then next thing you know, 3 days later, I got the call that DeMarco was shot and he didn't make it. Same thing with my husband. I kept telling him I feel death around him. I smell death around him. I kept warning him of different things. I was like, you like two death. He had two near death experiences prior to him actually crashing on his bike, and I just felt it. Plus, prior the morning into the day that he crashed on his bike, we had like the best fucking night, like the best fucking night. And something just told me like to embrace it because you're not gonna get this again. And then boom, my husband crashed the very fucking next day. With my baby daddy, he's still here, but he literally almost died being shot 10 times last year. I had two dreams of him running from the police in a red shirt. And I told him in real life, Manir, I keep dreaming that you're running from the police in a red shirt. He's like, mashallah, like he rebuked it and he didn't take it serious at all. And then boom, that day came when we had a dispute and he ended up fucking being shot 10 times and he was covered in his own blood, which symbolized the red on his shirt. And so it's like a gift and a curse. I can feel things, I can see things prior to them happening. But today is just a very, very hard day, you guys. So keep me lifted, keep my daughter Dayani lifted, keep his mother Shauna lifted, his granny Bernice lifted, his entire family on both sides lifted because none of us um enjoy this day anymore. You know what I mean? It's literally a nightmare, even though I know he's in a better place. And because of my gifts, I can feel him, sense him, and connect with them. But it just doesn't make the day any easier. So I've been trying to avoid that and just like, enjoy my morning and just be goofy and do silly things. But I did want to acknowledge DeMarco did pass away today.